In 1963, New York City did something unforgivable. It took one of the greatest buildings ever constructed on American soil, a building that made people feel small in the best possible way, and it smashed it into rubble in a matter of weeks. This was Pennsylvania Station, modeled after the baths of Caracalla in ancient Rome. Pink granite columns, vaulted glass ceilings that flooded the hall with natural light. One of the most magnificent public spaces in the world, and America tore it down, not because of an earthquake, not because of a war, but because someone decided that the land underneath it was worth more than the building on top of it. Penn Station wasn't alone. Across the United States, hundreds, maybe thousands of the most spectacular buildings ever built were intentionally, systematically erased from the map. This is the story of who did it, why they did it, and the 3 accomplices that made it all possible. Number 1, the tax trap. Here's the part nobody tells you in history class. The buildings weren't torn down because they were old. They were torn down because of how America taxes property. In the mid-20th century, American cities assessed property taxes based on the value of what was on the land, not just the land itself. A magnificent Beaux-Arts train station with marble floors, 60-foot ceilings, and ornate stonework. Taxed at a premium, every square foot of beauty was a liability on the balance sheet. But here's where it gets sinister. If you demolish that building and left the lot empty, just gravel and maybe a few parking meters, your tax bill dropped dramatically. A surface parking lot in most American cities paid almost nothing. The land sat there, unused, waiting to be sold. Property owners ran the numbers and discovered a macabre legal trick. Demolishing a palace was more profitable than maintaining one. So they did exactly that. They didn't sell the buildings. They didn't renovate them. They waited until the city would let them tear them down, collected whatever salvage value they could, and converted architectural masterpieces into parking lots. Parking lots. Detroit alone lost over 100 significant historic buildings between 1950 and 1980. Not to fires, not to floods, to accountants and tax codes. Number 2, federal blackmail. But the tax trap alone can't explain the scale of what happened. To understand that, you need to understand one of the most shameful federal programs in American history: urban renewal. After World War II, the federal government had billions of dollars to rebuild American cities. The Housing Act of 1949 created a massive program to funnel that money directly to city governments. There was just one condition: to qualify for federal funds, cities had to demonstrate that they had demolished a substantial percentage of what the government classified as, quote, substandard or blighted areas. Blight sounds clinical, objective, scientific. It was none of those things. In practice, city planners slapped the blighted label on anything old, anything that didn't generate maximum tax revenue, and in a shameful pattern documented in dozens of cities, anything located in black and immigrant neighborhoods that white city planners wanted cleared. Mayors faced a brutal choice: tear down your history and collect the federal money, or keep your buildings and watch rival cities get funded instead. Most chose the money. In Boston, the entire West End neighborhood, a dense, vibrant working-class community with 19th century brick townhouses, was demolished in 1958 to make way for a highway interchange. In San Francisco, the Fillmore district, one of the most culturally rich jazz neighborhoods in the country, was leveled under the same program. The federal government didn't accidentally destroy American architecture. It paid cities to do it on a deadline as a condition of receiving aid. Number 3, the car takeover. By now you might be thinking, okay, they tore down some old buildings, but surely they replaced them with something impressive. Skyscrapers maybe, modern civic buildings. Mostly, they did not. The third accomplice to this architectural murder was the private automobile. After World War II, America bet its entire urban future on the car. And cars need 2 things above everything else: roads and parking. City after city tore out its historic core not to build something new, but to build nothing. Flat lots for parking, concrete ramps for highway on-ramps. The automobile demanded space, and the city gave it everything it asked for. Detroit is the most extreme example. Once home to the most beautiful collection of Gilded Age commercial architecture in the Midwest, Detroit systematically demolished over 100 major buildings after 1950. What replaced them? In dozens of cases, nothing. Parking lots that still sit empty today, 70 years later. The irony is devastating. Cities tore down century-old buildings that people traveled from around the world to see, and replaced them with asphalt deserts that nobody wants to visit at all. Number 5, the aftermath, the birth of preservation. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The destruction of Penn Station in 1963 was so outrageous, so visually undeniable that it sparked a national reaction. Architecture critic Ada Louise Huxtable wrote in the New York Times that the demolition was, and I'll paraphrase, proof that America didn't know the difference between progress and vandalism. The outcry was loud enough that just 2 years later, in 1965, New York City passed its Landmarks Preservation Law, the first major historic preservation legislation in the United States. Other cities followed. The National Historic Preservation Act passed in 1966. A demolition created the movement to stop demolitions. Today, cities like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Detroit are slowly reclaiming their architectural heritage, restoring the buildings that survived instead of erasing them. But the losses from those 3 decades, the tax trap, the federal blackmail, and the car takeover, those are permanent. The Singer Building is gone. The original Penn Station is gone. Hundreds of theaters, hotels, rail stations, and civic buildings that took generations to build were erased in an afternoon. We lost the most beautiful buildings in the country to make room for asphalt deserts, and we're still paying the price today. If you want to understand how the cities we inherited got this way, and how some of them are fighting to come back, subscribe, because this is just the beginning.